Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Innervated Hearthstone talk show produced by Gosu Gamers. I am your host, as usual, GG Nydra, bringing you another episode of our, a fantastic talk show where we're just gonna sit down and talk about Hearthstone and fun stuff for about an hour and a half. As you can see from the overlay, some of the people are kind of missing either in from their webcams or just in general. So this show will be 100% extra kittens and red pandas. So it's gonna be all super cute. Tonight I'm joined by two people. As usual, we have TheChiv, the one and only, our resident American who likes guns and Hearthstone. How are you today, man?
Exhaustedly tired and trying not to shoot my neighbors.
Oh, that they're causing troubles? Or
The trash cans are right next to my wall, so yeah, they're slamming stuff all over it.
well, that's too bad, but at least you're back on the show, so that's gonna be fun.
Uh,
And yeah, on the bottom here we have Stothex, who has a shitty web camera and we cannot see his face today, but I've replaced him with a way cuter red panda. I don't think we can argue with this. Stothex, being a red panda, how do you feel today?
Feeling pretty cute.
That's not how you feel usually.
Not really.
Okay. And Skim is actually not here. He's helping some friends move house. So his latest update is that they moved rather quickly. They set up a router and they're playing Hearthstone, but he has apparently no time for us. So I'm just gonna murder him, just casually. But I'm psyched to have another episode of the show, and starting with a quick roundup of the news as usual. It was an interesting week. We can say lots of interesting announcement happened throughout the past couple of days. On Tuesday, Archon Zamas announced the Team Brawl tournament, in which players will team up in groups of two and will compete as one singular entity against other such teams. There will be 8 teams in total, I believe. The team will start on the 30th of this month, and players like Life Coach, RDO, Tysonel, lots of great players. Some more known, some lesser known, but this will be the first type of tournament, team tournament since the good old ESGN Fight Night days. So I'm, pretty hyped to see how this will turn out. How about you guys?
oh yeah, yeah. Group environment, Hearthstone. We loved it in Fight Night, and I'm glad to see it coming back. I'd like to see it more than just 2 people per team, but it's a start.
I mean, it's like the old Fight Nights actually had 4 people on around one computer, but I guess it makes it a bit difficult if you're not offline.
Yeah, it does. I mean, online tournaments are always a little bit hard to schedule with pro players and things of that nature, to some degree, because they have other obligations that they have to go for. So it does get a little bit weird, but at least they don't have to worry about going bankrupt in travel expenses like
Yeah,
some group
yes,
did.
unnamed companies did this. Anyways, on Thursday, House Cup 3 announced their next tournament. Vigame announced their next tournament. It will be House Cup 3, and it will go away from Sweden and Stockholm and into Transylvania. They will hold the next tournament in a castle, like Dracula's castle, actually. So, they're really ramping up their production. Interesting to see how this will turn out. People competing in like between stone walls, like some ancient atmosphere and whatnot. And this is kind of an exotic location for Hearthstone, to say the least. I kind of know, have heard rumors rather about the next locations about for the House Cup, and they are just as awesome. So I'm really looking forward to see this kind of new take on offline Hearthstone tournaments, because Seed Story Cup and House Cup in an apartment is one thing, but bringing it to a fucking castle, that's a whole other matter. It's bats and vampires and yeah, whatever.
I mean that's a place of legend. Like stories have been written about it. There's like just so much lore there. I just hope it doesn't. And I'm gonna use the pun here. Suck.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Come on, man. I'm half awake. It's pun time.
It's not going to suck. I fully believe in Vagame's
And then the
ability
next
to-
one's going to be at Alcatraz, where nobody can escape.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that would actually be pretty good. Call it No
That
Way
would be-
Out.
That would be amazing. Yeah. You have to.
But how do you get internet to a little island out in the middle of San Francisco Bay?
It's just Wi-Fi, man. Like, it's not like away from the states or any crowded area. That they have 3G there probably.
Okay, have you ever tried to stream just with your Wi-Fi router? It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out. I mean, if they want to go to Alcatraz, I guess. But probably not. Probably not this year. Probably not this year.
Well, all I want out of that tournament and the castle's like scaring the shit out of the players. That's all I want.
Like make it a Halloween vibe, basically, right?
Yeah, and like just go around scaring shit.
Yeah, the prison room goes to a whole other level, right? You lock two people in a dank room and just have
In
them
a dungeon.
in a dungeon, yeah, so that they cannot watch the stream and scout. But anyways, on Saturday, something rather big happened. Last week we talked about player bans and lack of transparency coming from Blizzard. Well, this Saturday, this weekend, Blizzard decided to be transparent, and they went up with a blog post on Battle.net saying why Nyman, Alchemist, and two other players, namely Exam and Demnary, were banned. They were not only banned, but also disqualified from the World Championship. In this same post, they were labeled as win traders. This was kind of the reason why we speculated it might be, because it wasn't going to be about botting. It wasn't going to be about account sharing, probably. So, win trading was the most logical thing. When we had our previous discussion, and this is the case, in fact, and neither of these four players will be able to go to the World Championship, obviously, but we still don't know if they will be allowed in other tournaments that are, third-party connected to the World Finals, like let's say tournaments like Vigame House Cup or Gfinity that award World Championship points. The blog post didn't say anything about it. It also didn't really specify the duration, although the title of ban from the 2015 World Championship kind of gives you an idea. So maybe next year they will be allowed to return to competitive Hearthstone. But yeah, for the time being, these guys are out of the BlizzCon race. Chiv, I know that last week you were against actually Blizzard coming out with reasons, and I know you're still against this blacklisting of players.
Well, the reason why I'm against it is because I look at this as wall of shaming. Like, in a lot of different games, if people are using cheats and all that, people try to call them out. They put out their names. They, put up pictures and tell them, oh, look, he's using this hack. He's doing this. That. And you know what? Every game company out there goes, no, that's not how you handle this. It's not how you handle this. Send us a ticket. We'll handle it. Well, here, they did the thing that they tell everybody not to do. And I really feel like that is not very professional. But, I mean, at the same time, I think it's good to set an example. So I see the value in it now more so. But it's still wall of shaming to me.
Well, other companies have been quite open with their bans. I mean, it's... I wrote an editorial actually on the topic. You can check it on GhostGamers.net. But comparisons have been made between Blizzard and companies like Riot Games or Valve, who are always open about the reasons when they're banning a Hearthstone, a pro player in their game. Like when Valve did all the bannings around the match fixing scandals, they revealed, publicly the names of the players and the teams who have been in violation. And same for Riot Games, when a League of Legends pro player is being toxic or is being DDoSing or engaging in otherwise malicious behavior, they're quite open about it. And I was myself, I was all for revealing actually the reasons, because I believe the public should know. And as you said,
I kind of agree that they should know because it sets an example. Like, don't do this because we'll mess you up. I almost said something else instead. But I mean, in more recent times, they've been doing this. But I'm an old school gamer. Back in like early 2000s and stuff like that, when people were doing, nobody really did that, and companies did not allow you to do that in their forums. So to see this transition, I don't know. Maybe I just got to get used to it, but for some odd reason, it feels wrong to me.
I mean, we at least know now. On Sunday, which is our transition topic, Stanislav Sivka, the Czech Hearthstone player who is also known as a Magic the Gathering Pro Tour champion and chess master, won the 10,000 DreamHack Bucharest event that happened in Romania over the weekend. In the finals, he beat Firebat 3-1, and he had a quite hard road to the finals. Actually, he finished second in every group, and then he was 3-2, 3-2 all the way to the grand final. So it was by no way an easy championship for him. And if you didn't watch the grand finals, make sure you do. Go back. It's one of some amazing games, including a turn 3 kill from Firebat on the Shaman, just because whirling Zap-O-Matic with double Rock Biter is apparently a thing that you can do to people. And I'm like, if you missed it, you should wait for Trollden's maybe for the lucky moments, because this is gonna be there. Moving on to actually, our first big topic. It's, well, you guessed it, DreamHack Bucharest. And to summarize it, it was another Hearthstone tournament where open qualifier players kicked ass. So this is the third now for this year after ESL Katowice and Vagame House Cup 2, where the invites get slaughtered and an open qualifier winner takes the championship. So we've been talking in the past about the new age and the rise of new blood in Hearthstone, and I guess it's happening again. It's going to be the theme of 2015.
It really is going to be that. I mean, we what was it? 3/4 of us predicted it was going to be somebody new, and there was one person who said Firebat, and he was almost right. I'll give him credit on that. But yeah, the more you make these tournaments open to a greater amount of people, the more you're going to start seeing names that you've never seen before popping up and actually going the distance. And that's just how that's going to work, because there is somewhat of a luck factor, but there's so many good skilled players out there. All right? And a lot of these pros, they're used to playing against each other, so they know each other inside and out. And there's a little bit of a mind games when trying to figure out what's in your opponent's deck, how they're going to play it. If you're playing up against somebody you've never played against before, but he's obviously qualified to be there against you, you're kind of at a disadvantage. He's been able to watch you for a while now and sees how you play, but you know nothing of this guy. So you have to give somewhat of an edge to this new blood coming into the Hearthstone scene.
The most interesting thing is actually Stanislav Sivka is not entirely new to Hearthstone. In 2014,
no, he's not.
Yeah,
he's not.
Yeah, he was playing in the Gentleman Cup, the infamous team tournament that happened over the summer of last year. He was part of Irenis, a local Czech team, and he played a couple of games, but not to big of a success.
Don't forget about the EU China.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Just give me a second. And in 2014, he didn't have a lot of success. Of course, he was still mainly focused on Magic the Gathering. And when I interviewed him in last Bucharest, he said it's difficult to juggle two card games, which is obviously that's the case. In 2015, though, as you said, Chiv, he qualified for Europe versus China. He beat his Chinese opponent. He lost to Colento, who went to win the whole thing. So it's really, really guy who we should be watching out for in this year. Obviously, he has some skill, man. He's not going away. Like, if he puts his mind onto it, and he'll make big things in the future, especially coming from a rich trading card game experience.
Yeah, and in all honesty, it was kind of weird looking at the like the brackets afterwards where they show the players' names and their team affiliation, and then you see right up there first, no team affiliation whatsoever. I bet you that's going to change in the next 2 weeks easily for him.
Who do you think will sign him? Okay, that's a stupid question. Who do you want to sign him?
Oh,
Where do you think Stanislav Sivka will fit team-wise?
I mean, he's a solid player, and like most of the pro players know him. They've played with him. If I had to push him anywhere, I'd probably say Team Liquid.
Team Liquid? Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people on Reddit have been dreaming about Brian Kibler plus Stanislav Sivka, Magic the Gathering into Hearthstone team, because that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Sivka can teach Brian Kibler a thing or two about not putting double Kazan Mystic in your decks, because that's not working. It's not working.
Well, I mean, the fear of Hunter and fear of Freeze Mage, I can kind of understand it, but not that much.
Yeah, Nico, how much did you watch from DreamHack Bucharest? Not just Stanislav Sivka games, but overall, what are your impressions from the tournament?
I didn't watch everything. I didn't even watch the final yet. I saw the turn 3 kill video, which was pretty fun, and it seemed like a pretty good tournament to me from the games I saw and the environment. I only didn't like the synergy between Nimsh and Forsen. Like, Forsen didn't really like Nimsh jokes, and that was a bit sad because that's like his selling point.
I have to say, I actually, I've never been a fan of Nimsh myself. Like, no offense to the guy, I've known him since the first days of Hearthstone. Literally, this is the first Hearthstone pro I get to know. I've hung out with him multiple times. He actually has asked me on my honest opinions of him as a host, and I've told him that a few things about your casting I do not enjoy, but all things aside, I was actually quite surprised that Forsen was able to bring quality entertainment and act professionally, because people were joking about him not looking like a hobo, having an actual haircut, not having a hoodie, and it's, again, I know Forsen as well, so I know how he's actually in person, and to see him step up and be presentable to the public and bring up a nice presentation and lead the DreamHack Bucharest tournament from the couch, I think he did fantastically.
Well, he has to be like a role model for all his role player friends. So he did need to step up his game and not look like a hobo.
You cannot really look like a hobo at a 10K tournament, I guess.
Well, what was the prize pool for Seed Story Cup? I can't remember, but it wasn't low either.
But Seed Story Cup, you're kind of allowed to do whatever you want. It's Take TV event. You can be half naked there and still be okay, I guess. I mean, if you're a lottery, it's even more okay.
Oh, come on. They beat the crap out of a pinata loaded with salt.
Yeah.
All right? Come on now.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. And everybody knew what was in there, too. It's like, it's salt.
Yeah. One thing about DreamHack Bucharest that I find particularly interesting, and I haven't really seen in that many tournaments, is they actually allow them to change decks and even classes, to be honest, between rounds, between each round. Now, we've seen this in the past to some extent. Seed Story Cup allowed this because it was happening over the release of a new wing, right? So they told them that when playoffs come, they are allowed to make new decks with the new cards. But I don't think they were allowed to actually change their classes. But DreamHack Bucharest said, okay, you can do whatever you want. And we saw, players actually bringing shamans when they didn't use them before. It was quite a dynamic, deck selection and lineup building, but as we said, it's not really common in Hearthstone. And what do you guys think? Like, should this become a thing in future tournaments? And I don't think it will ever become a standard, but once in a while it might be cool.
Well, I know back when Mana Grind was doing the original thing with MLG, we actually made it to where you could change to any class in the during the best of 3 portion, whatever you wanted, and that only lasted like 2 weeks. And then it became, nope, you bring one class, but we're going to give you an unlimited sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
Which at that point, Handlock started really catching on, and then Zoo came along, and it was like, oh, wow, Warlock became the predominant winner of those tournaments because they had 2 viable decks. So, I don't know. I kind of like the idea, especially for a spaced-out tournament over a couple days. It makes sense because if people have been watching what you've played, then they'll know what to expect. But if you change it up on them, you kind of gain an advantage. But mind you, they can do the same thing too. So those mind games can backfire on you.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the main reason was because they broadcast. I mean, they played the entire group stage, both group stages actually, on Friday. So and they showed a total of I think 9 games, like from 2 groups or 2 or 3 groups.
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of the players remained untelevised. So you could actually watch, these selected few players compete and see their decks. And as with this, you have an inherited advantage. I thought that they will stop, deck changing. They would disallow it come the playoffs, but they kept it for the playoffs as well, which I find a bit weird because it's the playoffs. Everything is televised, so. To me, the more logical thing to do was, okay, you make these 3 decks and you stick to them till the end.
I don't know, it does add an interesting element there, and we get to see some interesting design aspects, which actually helps the community in many ways. And again, it's another tool. It's another way of playing this game that I think bears some exploration in the future. I liked it. I thought it was just fun.
Stothex, what about you, Ed?
Well, generally I like that a lot, but I think giving the players the option to change after every match is a bit too much. So I mean, you can't really develop a storyline for like, hey, that guy played this deck throughout the series and won with that and stuff like that. So I don't really know yet, but it was fun to see. But I think like it would have been enough like after the group stages for the top 8 and for the grand final or something like that, and not like in between as well.
Since we have since we had a champion that's formerly a Magic the Gathering professional, I mean he still plays Magic the Gathering. An interesting topic here is Magic the Gathering guys playing Hearthstone competitively, and we've seen, players, famous Magic the Gathering guys do it in the past and still do it. Like Kilber is still actively competing, and Paulo Damo de Rosa actually tried it for a while, but then kind of stopped. He's still I still see him laddering for once in a while, but not really invest in the competitive scene. And when these guys started entering the Hearthstone competitive scene, there were the comments and speculation like how well can they do? Like, do they have the natural advantage of being so experienced in other card games like Magic the Gathering? And arguably Magic is more complicated and more deep card game than Hearthstone is currently, and but we haven't seen this. Like Sivka is actually the first Magic the Gathering professional that does well in Hearthstone. It took him a good 1 year to do this. Kibler's performance in KPL has also not been convincing. Like he's trying to build weird decks or go away from the orthodox. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. But you cannot really say, okay, this guy will be the king of Hearthstone in half a year. What do you guys think? I know that you've played Magic for a long time, and I have as well, although I'm not active anymore. What do you think about the future of these Magic the Gathering legends and veterans in Hearthstone? Are they gonna be like let's say in StarCraft where the Kespa guys, like the old Broodwar guys, came and crushed everything, and but in Hearthstone now?
Well, I think, we have seen other MTG players come. A lot of people I know who play Hearthstone also play Magic the Gathering. Toyda, good friend of mine, still plays it, and he won quite a few PDQs and things of that nature. Jodo, avid Hearthstone player, but let's also not forget about the one that everybody knows, and that's Reynad. All right, came from Magic. We're not going to go into the details of what happened there for obvious reasons. Gabe Walls, who last I checked got banned from Hearthstone.
He got unbanned eventually.
Oh, he did get unbanned.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good for him. So I mean, we've had some pretty decent crossovers from there. When we were doing the MLGs, quite a bit of those people were former Magic players and high ranked in there as well. And I had to interview them for that, and even Nimsh, and though he was more WoW
It was WoW
TCG.
yeah, like he copied.
Right. And I actually asked them a question about this. Like, yeah, last week we had a former Magic Pro actually win this, and he was saying, like Magic the Gathering players, if they all came over to Hearthstone, would just dominate it. What are your thoughts on it? It's like, well, he might be right. And it's true. Magic the Gathering, you have to take in a lot more things into consideration than you do Hearthstone. And a lot of people I know who play Magic the Gathering look at Hearthstone and go, oh, this is a dumbed down version. And then they actually play it and they fall flat on their face. So I don't know. I've seen them do great and then I've seen them fall. I think it's just going to be a learning curve. But once they hit that curve, I think that they could transition very nicely over.
We're kind of leaving one notable Magic the Gathering name that successfully transitioned. That's Zalay. Zalay was actually he was at the World Championship, I think, in 2000 and remind me, 13, 12 maybe. I'm not sure. He was the Magic Online champion, and he was one of the 16 players at the grand final. And he's now playing for Archon. Won a couple of online events, and we actually, I think, named him one of the players to watch in 2015, not just because of his Magic Gathering experience, but he seems to have transitioned very well in the new game.
And if he wasn't streaming right now, we would have had him on the show.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
What?
Stothex, you're an Archon fanboy. What do you think of Zalay? Will he be the Magic the Gathering pro that just destroys everybody in 2015?
That's always really hard to say in a card game, but well, he's not new to competitive gaming. I mean, he won a state championship in chess, like a lot of Hearthstone players actually, like playing chess, not winning a state championship, obviously. But he played MTG, was Player of the Year, and well, he's doing pretty well in Hearthstone so far. So I mean, he could be one of the dominating players if he sticks to it. So let's see. I mean, he has one of the best environments to play Hearthstone.
Definitely.
He's living in a house full of Hearthstone players with the world champion and the two guys that actually helped coaching the world champion. So
yeah, it's he'll be definitely a talent to watch, I think, this year. Speaking of Sivka and Magic the Gathering, I did an interview with Stan, as I said in the last Bucharest, and he gave me an interesting quote which I want to throw you guys. He said that Hearthstone is more exciting and complex and less random than Magic the Gathering. So this was a quote that basically exploded on Reddit, people on both Reddits, on Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering alike. Obviously there's a heated discussion to be had when you compare the two games. Magic Gathering fans said, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit. I mean, our game is obviously on a whole other level than this World of Warcraft card games for kids." And it was really hard to argue with them because Magic Gathering has 22 years behind it right now. This 93 is alpha, or
isn't it almost 25 years?
It's 2 decades and change, okay, right? And Hearthstone is a year old, and to have such a strong quote coming from one of Magic Gathering's best, obviously didn't sit well with everybody. But we are here to just talk honestly and frankly about stuff. So, what do you guys think? As again, you've played Magic Gathering for a long time.
Well, I completely disagree. Hearthstone is nowhere near as complex as Magic. And, I mean, I'm not even playing Magic very actively lately, in the last 2 years. But the thing with the stack and like your opponent's decisions when you attack and stuff like that makes the game just way more complex. And I also always disagree if someone tries to tell me that Magic is more random, because even if you could say it's more random, it also has like stuff like deck manipulation. You can scientifically analyze how many lands you need for your deck and stuff like that. You can do a lot of optimizing. You can manipulate your deck with card draw, like stuff like looking at cards and fetch lands and stuff. So even if it would be more randoms because of the mana system and Magic, like the lands being in your deck and stuff, they are like you have a lot of ways to manipulate them, while you have not as many options to manipulate stuff in Hearthstone. Like there's so many random effects you can't manipulate in any way.
Especially
Like,
in GVG, they multiplied so much. Like just
yeah,
cards that are pure RNG and unmanipulative, like stuff like Unstable Portal Shredder. We've talked about it in articles before.
yeah, and it's like there are stuff like Ragnaros and Sylvanas where you can actually like do a bit of stuff to get into favor of it, but like Unstable Portal, you can't do anything. You just have to live with whatever comes out, and so I don't know. I still think Magic is more complex and a bit less random. Not much, but a bit less, I think.
Chiv, where do you stand?
Yeah, I have to agree with Stothex there. I've been trying to figure out how he could justify the whole Magic is more random. And I mean, okay, so it's got twice the amount of cards in a deck, maybe. I mean, I tried to run through permutations, but no matter how much I tried, I look at like Dr. Boom, I look at Goblin Blast, and I look at all that. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. But the thing is, it makes it more exciting. And that's why I think it's going to have like that appeal to the people, because it's an exciting thing. You play Magic the Gathering, sometimes it's kind of like just going through the motions. You know, got your resource management, resource reduction, board state, having to figure out which ones you're going to attack with, which ones you're going to leave up so you can defend. You know, there's many little aspects to that. Hearthstone, that goes right out the damn window. So it's simplified, but yet still complex enough. But comparing Magic the Gathering to Hearthstone in many ways is like comparing a Rubik's Cube that is just your little 9 on each side versus the Rubik's Cube that is 16 on each side. Okay? Yeah, they're basically a card game, but one's definitely got more permutations.
So before we get sidetracked horribly into Magic Gathering talk, I guess there's another name we should mention that, you know, personally really surprised me, pleasantly at DreamHack Bucharest, and it's Lothar. Lothar making a fucking good showing. Like, he had an atrocious 2014. He was, I'm afraid to speak big words of negativity, but he was one of the worst players in 2014. Like, obviously he was juggling real life, work obligations and, Hearthstone as a hobby and kind of a semi-profession part-time thingy. But he was losing so much last year. And then he got signed to Nihilum. He quit his, offline job. He's doing Hearthstone full-time now. And he has top 4 at Bucharest and top 2 at KFC Spring. Is he one of the best players in Europe suddenly?
That it's kind of funny because I've seen the rise and fall and now the re-rise of Lothar. Even at one point he was doing like casting and managing, and here he is coming back with a vengeance. And people, I think, like discounted him, and now he's coming back. It's like, yeah, by the way, remember me? No, I bet you do now. So I'm actually happy to see it. I'm really happy for him. I so am. Do I think he's like the best European player?
No,
I'm not going to go that far, but he's definitely the comeback kid. I'll give him that. Comeback kid.
Stothex?
That kid sounds about right. I mean, he played pretty poorly in 2014 a lot of times. So, I mean, it's kind of hard. He had like a full-time job and Hearthstone on the side and stuff. So, it's probably pretty hard. But now that he's more focused on Hearthstone, he's doing pretty well. So,
I think the Helm did wonders for him, basically being on the same team as Life Coach, who is, I think, the best player in Europe at the moment, just my opinion, and as well as Thijs and RDO, who are at different times in 2014 the best players in Europe themselves. RDO with a strong showing in summer, and Thijs and L with 2 back-to-back DreamHack Grand Finals, and I think this has helped him a lot to develop as a player.
Oh yeah, when you got that kind of resources there, and these are the people you're playing with, practicing. If you've ever played chess, the only way you become better at playing it is by playing better opponents. So if you've got these top-ranked players here as the people you test with, you're going to get better. That's just all that there is to that.
That's like for every game, isn't it? Like, it's the same
pretty
for
much.
Magic and pretty much every game I ever played.
Oh, yeah.
Also, is Firebat like the best player in the world right now? Because in 2015 he already has 5 Grand Finals in online and offline tournaments, including back-to-back Gfinity champions. Who is, he's now the first ever Hearthstone player to defend the title in an offline event, and he has now silver from DreamHack Bucharest. So this is on top of his World Championship from last year.
Well, in episode 1 of the podcast, I actually did a shout out to him that he will be one of the strongest players in 2015.
You kind of cheated my question there.
No, actually, you didn't ask me specifically to tell you some newcomer. You asked the other ones for newcomers, but you didn't ask me, so I cheated you in a way. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But well, he not only did he win a lot of stuff, he was like second place in a lot of other tournaments as well. So he probably is the best player right now.
Yeah,
or at least the most successful.
Yeah, there you go. Just for top placements, definitely he's up there. And I know how the Gosu Gamer ranking system works and all that. Yeah, I haven't checked it today, but I'm pretty sure
he's still number 1, yeah.
Yeah, he's still one.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to change. He is a world champion after all. So, I mean, there's a lot riding on it. So he's always going to have to play to his best performance. I don't think he's allowed to have an off day.
Yeah, well, when you have so many championships, I guess people do look at you with the highest of standards.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's put DreamHack Bucharest aside. It was an awesome event, and I guess we all enjoyed it. And move to our main topic, which will be history of competitive Hearthstone. And why is that the topic? I will tell you in just now. So the idea of today's main topic came from after sawing a Twitter post by Viagame's head of content, Simon Sundem. It was a series of tweets actually. The first tweet said, "No one believed in Hearthstone then when we and DreamHack created DreamHack Viagame Hearthstone Summer 2014. It's time to take Hearthstone a step further now." This was tweeted on April 23rd, right after they announced Hearth Cup number 3. The next tweet, which was subsequently deleted, said something along the lines of, "This will annoy some people, but I think DreamHack and Viagame pushed Hearthstone the farthest and make the most improvements." Something along those lines. I cannot really quote it verbatim because I didn't really expect it to be deleted. the point of the show is not to bash on Simon or his tweetman, although he's, I think, wrong to some extent. I can expect, it's understandable that he makes such statement, being, the guy in charge of Vigame House Cup, but this got me thinking, why don't we make a trip down back memory lane and actually see where Hearthstone esports started, how it developed through the years to get to where it actually is today. Because singling out DreamHack is Vigame, although they have done a lot for Hearthstone, I think it's not entirely fair to all the guys that were there before them. And I think, Chiv, you wrote in a Twitter post that other people build the pillars and the foundations that other companies are now standing up on.
Yeah, I believe the exact statement was Mana Grind, ESGN, Zotac, Gosu Cup. Did these guys, what were these guys? Did they not exist? Just remember, we built the stage you now sit on.
Yeah. But, Mana Grind, we'll start there, because when newcomers to Hearthstone, like new younger fans, think of the start of the Hearthstone esports, they might be thinking as far back as, let's say, the 2013 Innkeepers Invitational, the one with Kriparian and Arthoses. And there's certainly, you can understand it, because this was the first big televised event. It was in BlizzCon, it was lots of hype. I think 100,000 people tuned to watch Hearthstone live on a big stage. But actually, competitive Hearthstone started off the streams. It started with a tournament called Mana Grind, which you, Chiv, were involved with.
It actually started before the game even came out.
Yeah.
We were playing it on emulators.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake. And we ran these tournaments. We ran multiple different formats: Swiss, single elimination. We played around with different playstyle formats, everything. And then the game came out, and all those people who were playing on the emulator kind of dropped off because they didn't get into the closed beta right away. But then we got a new crop of people showing up, and it just grew, and it was quite amazing.
I think you started in October, right? I think I was looking at our tournament database, because we were backlogging Mana Grind until they stopped to exist, and to a topic which we'll get to in a few minutes. But I think like October, or like early October, something like this, were the first tournaments. We're talking 2013, by the way, guys. Way back, like 18 months almost.
See, October, that would have been like the MLG stuff, I believe, is when we started working with them then. I don't know, I had to go through chemo and radiation therapy somewhere in there, so those dates get a little wonky for me. But yeah, sounds about right. But we were doing just our regular Swiss tournaments. Then we transitioned over to MLG, and for some god-awful reason, we dropped Swiss. And we worked with MLG. We had large tournaments there. I mean, we're talking like 300 people open tournament. And people were competing for no damn prize. MLG credit is not a prize. I'm sorry, it is not. But they were still competing. They actually were. And we saw like a lot of the names that we recognize now competing then, and they did great. And it was just so much good times.
One of the names I clearly remember from these Mana Grind days, when I was following the tournament and doing write-ups, was Chucky. Chucky actually won, I think, several of these things. Like, he was the only name that I read an interview with a couple of times, and then he stick to Hearthstone, and he continued winning or placing second, as he's doing today.
Yeah, he did, and he was one of those players that basically said, "Hey, I like Shaman. Let me show you why."
Yeah.
And he dominated people so much with it. And then there was one guy who came along and then said, "Really, I like Shaman too," and actually outplayed him with it consistently every single time they faced off. And I can't remember his name to save my life, but it was funny because I was talking to him about that. I was like, "How is it you keep losing to this guy?" Because he studied me. That was his exact response. And when I talked to the guy, I was like, "Yeah, I studied Jackie." So he was prepared to face him. It was great.
Tell me, what were some of the difficulties of organizing and administrating these tournaments? Because this was the wild west of Hearthstone back in the days. Like, nobody really had experience running a Hearthstone tournament before.
Well, the thing is, at Mana Grind, we tried to take the experience you get from going to your local comic store, game store, wherever, where you would play your Friday night Magic and booster drafts and things of that nature. We tried to recreate that. Well, that's a very communal environment, so you have to be able to talk, and I don't mean just I mean actually talk. So you had to have a VoIP that could hold the massive amounts of people. Now, if you've ever been in a large like TeamSpeak where there's 100 or more people, yeah, that gets really frustrating because everybody wants to talk at once, nobody wants to listen, and about 20% of your player base are going to be trolls. I'm not going to name names, but they're kind of actually well known now. So that was
Is it blackout?
Oh,
or somebody who was on a team with them.
Who was on a team? Well, there are not many people who were on Dignitas, and now they're.
There wasn't Dignitas back then.
Oh,
it was,
okay.
Denial Esports, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I can actually Google up their names now. But yeah, let's leave these guys out of it. It's not.
But I mean, there were issues. There was always the people saying, "Oh, he cheated. Oh, he didn't win this." And then of course, the only way you could say is like, "Well, who's got a screenshot?" Oh, neither one of us. Well, then either replay the game or I got a coin and I can flip it right now. And sometimes I had to be like a little draconic in the way I handled things, or my staff had to be a little draconic in the way we handled things, mostly because we wanted to keep the tournament going. We were running Swiss tournaments that were taking like 8 hours because we had like 80 people in them. That's a lot of investment, especially on a Friday night, guys. So that was one of the big things. And then everybody wanted to stream it too, and that was really cool because we were doing multi-streams at Mana Grind where we would have like one stream that had like everybody else's stream attached in it, so you could go pick and choose what you wanted to see. And this was like before any of the tournaments were doing any stream coverage or that stuff like that. And we started putting it out, and it was great. We formed like one of the first Hearthstone teams outside of Team Liquid because we already knew that crap was.
If I'm not mistaken, you were the first period, and Don't Kick My Robots were the second team, or it was the other way around. But you guys came out about the same time or very close. But
I could swear Team Liquid actually had a team as well.
No, not in 2013. That they formed for ESGN Fight Night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if you haven't heard of Team Mana Grind, you should, because players like Guess Who Colento and Forsen started on Mana Grind. This was their origin. Colento then went to be teamless, and then he moved to Cloud9 eventually. So Cloud9 is actually Colento's only second team. He was on Mana Grind forever.
And let's not forget Reels, who went off to go with Blizzard. Dark Wanix is doing what Dark Wanix does up there in Swedenland. There was actually quite a few people. Moon, Timbold,
Varzemi was also on Mana Grind, I think. He's also in the chat, in Twitch chat, Varzemi. So we're talking about you, buddy, and your good old Mana Grind days.
Hi, Tom.
What I found cool about the Mana Grinds at the time was, being the first tournaments, they were actually the first glimpse into what competitive Hearthstone deck building looks like, because even then, when nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, ladder decks and Mana Grind decks, we used to news the Mana Grind winners deck list every week, and you could already see difference in there was insight in the pro players' minds. You could see how people are building for different environments, stuff that one Mana Grinds weren't really doing well on ladder, and believe me, I tried so many of those decks. And this is a thing that evolved and continued to be a thing in competitive Hearthstone. Like you have tournament decks and you have ladder decks. But
yeah, actually you do. And when we had the two tournaments going at the same time, the MLG and the Swiss one. The Swiss one, the decks that were coming off that, those were more akin to a ladder grinding deck all day long. But you go to the MLG ones, those were more like tournament style decks, which they were very, very different. I mean, they look similar, but they're not. They really weren't. The teching in them was completely different. By the way, just because Wishjame wrote it up there, let's not forget about Faramir, who was also in Mana Grind. Considering I talked to him a
And
bunch
Chucky
today.
was also in Mana Grind, right?
Yes, he was.
Yes,
That's right,
wow.
yes.
Oh, the good
And then he left Mana Grind in the middle of like a what was it?
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Yeah,
that was so funny. So yeah, but Mana Grind was setting the standard of what people were playing that week. Every week, I know, because I had to enter in all these deck lists on Hearthstone, and that's where people were going. It's like, oh wow, this is the new deck. I want to play this. This is the new sweetness. It was an amazing time. It was kind of like the Wild Wild West and a Gold Rush at the same time. I loved it.
The Mana Grinds were eventually discontinued in May 2014. I think this was the case. You can just check on GGNet, our past coverage. Why were they discontinued? Like, because I think they were doing great. I think until the very last days, they had quite an active community signing up and competing. Give us a little insight on this.
Well, there's lots of different rumor mills about it. I'm actually one of the few people who actually knows the whole story. Actually, no, that's not true. There's actually like 12 people who know the whole story. Mana Grind started out with great ideals, had a great, huge community involvement, and then they decided to branch out from that. Well, the problem was they stopped enforcing the thing that made them great, which was the tournaments. And they wanted to focus more on the pro players. Don't get me wrong, pro players, we love you guys. But it started getting to the point where the staff that was operating the tournaments was pretty much left without any instructions. When we needed to consult with management, which was all of like one person, because the other person who was actually management, his computer blew up. It was very hard to talk to him, never could get anything, and when he was available, he was only available for the pro players. This created a lot of problems. I ended up running pretty much all the day-to-day operations on the TeamSpeak for a lot of this, and again, I was going through cancer treatment. I was sick. I couldn't handle a lot of it. There was a lot of bickering, infighting, stuff that would have been solved with simple leadership tools, but they were not available. Eventually, I had to step down because I couldn't go through all the stress I was going through. Doctor's like, yeah, you need to give up some stress or you need to find a coffin. So I had to walk away. And in the process of doing that, I was like, look, I'm just going to step down, let myself, get better, and I'll be back. And then I get told, oh, don't bother coming back. You've been replaced outright. That pissed a lot of people off in Mana Grind itself. And there were other problems that were just coming up. There was money transactions that were not being accounted for. A lot of things that was kind of shady and slippery. And then eventually it just imploded in on itself. When you've got that much infighting and that much stupidity is what it was, there's no way it could stay stable. So the tournament stopped, and shortly thereafter, Mana Grind stopped. They tried to come back, but they just didn't have the follow-through. And it really sucks because I really, really want Mana Grind to be around. It was so much fun.
The Mana Grind was eventually replaced by a few other weekly cups, but we'll get to them later in the discussion. But in January, actually, another big thing appeared on the scene, and it was the ESGN Fight Night series. And this was actually the first big televised Hearthstone tournament that had a regular content stream, coming to Twitch every. I think that initially it was daily, then they changed the schedule, but it's relevant, and last episode we actually closed it with the words "Fight Night was awesome," and with despite all the shit that ESGN went through, eventually, the bankruptcy and people getting not paid and having to leave, one of these guys being Frodon, who we all deeply love, and he's the father of all Hearthstone casting, no sarcasm here. Despite all this shit, I think we can really safely say that Fight Night, with all its opulence and all its stories that it created, it was awesome. Stothex, like we kind of left you out of the Mana Grind discussion, but did you enjoy Fight Night back in the days?
Yeah, Fight Night was great. I honestly don't even know much about Mana Grind and the tournaments, because that was like a time when I just started out playing. and when I didn't hate ladder yet, so I was actually playing ladder and with friends and stuff.
Yeah, but the Fight Night actually was even though Mana Grind were the first tournaments, the Fight Night was actually the show that built the star players that we now know. It's the Doggy House guys that are now with in various teams, including Cloud9 in Team Liquid. Claire, Mana Grinds, which all had great players. Like That's Admirable. This was his first appearance on camera as a player. We had Reels, we had Chucky. These guys that are now so involved in the Hearthstone scene, this was their first gig. And as much as as I said, ESGN had its ups and downs, but this was a show that had so many things done right, including mini interviews, between the series to fill the time. It had a proper host and caster dues. They were publishing deck lists, VODs. It was a full package actually, and it's kind of surprising because I know for a fact that the people involved, a lot of them, in the production, they had not a single clue about how to do esports. I can tell you that because I've had chats with them at Seed Story Cup, and they didn't come from esports background. They came from mainstream media or whatever. There are very few guys that lived and breathed Hearthstone. Froden was one of these guys, but that was pretty much it. And to see such production coming from inexperienced guys was actually wonderful. I'm kind of sad that it's the actual higher level management that fucked up, and everything went to dust.
It's always higher management that fucks something up. Always.
Yeah. Varzem is actually saying in the chat that before ESGN, Forsen's max viewer count was under 200. So, not sure if that's the case, but that's a funny piece of true if it's true.
I can't verify that, but ESGN was like a great time. It was it was jovial. It was fun. Let's not forget about those god awful, like in bad taste, little commercials that they made for themselves.
Oh god! Do you remember? It haunts me to this day. Darkonix coming on stream and saying, I have a huge deck. How big is your deck? And this is probably one of the worst puns written. Like I have dear friends that take pride of themselves, making horrible puns. And if they knew this one, they would be fucking ashamed, because it was one of the.
I talk to that man all the time, and he taunts me about Swedish meatballs. And then every time he says that, I think of that pun. That is not something you want to think about when somebody's talking about meat and balls. No. Yeah. They were so bad, but there were also a lot of great memorable moments. Let us not forget Artosis trying to execute his own Sylvanas. I remember that to this day, going, that's not going to work. He thinks, now he realizes he just screwed himself. And the look of, all right, I got this guy, then all the color drained out of his face. That right there, that was that drama story that you wanted to see in something like this. And
the face of defeat.
He thought he had a clever winning play and then realized he screwed himself. It was just so great. And there were a few moments like that throughout that series, too. And of course, there was the 1 week he's on this team, the next week he's on this team. Chucky,
betrayer of trust. Traitor of trust. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Chucky was on Mana Grind in season 3. Then he moved teams to Clarity Gaming, and on season 4 he was competing against his ex-teammates. So
such a team hopper.
Yeah, and now he's with Dignitas. Wow.
Yeah,
Shame anybody.
Chucky's one of those players. He's good all around. He's good at bounce around. He's like a utility infielder in baseball. He'll always have a home somewhere.
So Varzem is actually saying that Darkonix did have a huge deck. I'm not gonna pursue this.
I don't even want to know how he knows about that.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave this hanging.
Tom,
as another pun, yeah.
You're just digging. You're digging yourself so deep right now, man. Please just stop. I'll talk with you later after the show about that. Get you some therapy.
But yeah, Yep.
I still wish someone would like pick up Fight Night, like do something like that again, because even though it was awkward at times, it was great overall.
Yeah, I think the concept was fantastic. Bring people together. See them interact and banter and just make a generally good show.
Yeah, and it was like team based, which is something we don't see very often nowadays.
No, that's
No,
true.
we don't. And Fight Night had some really good numbers for a week. Well, actually, it was every day there for a bit. It was like what, 3 or 4 days a week.
Yep.
It
All right,
was
they actually had some.
2 days a week, I think.
Yeah, but
No.
it actually had no. At the end, I think it was like 3 or 4 days.
No, rather the other way around.
Yeah.
I think that it was daily when they started, and then they moved to
They
like
scaled it back. Yeah,
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
but they still had good numbers.
Oh yeah.
They still had good numbers. They had tournament. What we see now in high level tournament numbers. Obviously not. I think at one point they hit like 90K on one of them.
Yeah, I think that they were 15 between 15 and 20K. It was a generally good night, and this was again like in January 2014. Nobody knew what competitive Hearthstone was. This was our first taste of what a live production is like.
And what was really cool is after the show, like the next day, you go to Reddit and all the shitstorm that was all over that damn thing about, oh, well, he missed lethal there. It's like, why did he try to execute his own Savanas? Is he mentally handicapped? I saw so much crap on that. Is when I generally stopped reading Reddit. But yeah, so people were definitely invested in it. And we need that back.
Just everyday business on Reddit. Like, didn't change at all.
They just had a new topic. That's it.
So moving away from ESGen, a few other tournaments, came in after that time, and around I think March or February, weekly cups like our Gosa Cup, Zotac, and in America it was the NESL, the thing run by ESL, obviously. And this became actually the backbone of contemporary off-stream competition, and a lot of the known names that we are seeing right now, in big tournaments, they actually started in these tournaments. A guy like Tyson L won 5 Zota Cups. Silent Storm, I think, won several NESL King of the Hills. This was kind of his entrance into the Hearthstone scene, and he's now on Tiddler Celestial's team, and he's considered one of the players to watch in 2015. We had guys like Powder and Faramir, the guys from Trig Esports, their teammate D2, also regular NESL players. The guys from Don't Kick My Robots, which was one of the most long-standing Hearthstone teams until it basically stopped having anything to do with Hearthstone. They were also regularly winning NESL cups, and I kind of fondly remember these periods because through the Gosa Cups I actually got to know and become friends with the Hearthstone guys, that we now hang out together when we go to tournaments. And Chiv, I know that you're a big fan of these open competitions, obviously coming from being an admin of one in the past. I don't want to comment because I'm too biased, having organized and run and operated the Gosa Cups, but from a neutral bystander, where do you how important do you think these cups were in the general picture of competitive Hearthstone?
I think they were all actually really important because they had prize support. That was one of the things that Managrind had a couple issues with. There was a time we almost got some kind of deal with a major gaming gear company, but management shot that all to shit. But no, they had prize support. You look at the Zotac Cup. Money! All right, so that got players hungry.
Yep.
And sometimes that's all you need. You throw a little bit of blood in the water, what do you get? You get sharks. And lo and behold. So I know that's kind of a crude analogy, but it's God's honest truth. You put money on the table. Yeah, you put money on the table, people are going to fight for it. You start increasing that amount, you're going to see the cream of the crop rise amongst all the rest. And that's kind of where we got to. Now, that did kind of lead to a few other interesting scenarios where these bigger money tournaments were all cherry picked. But now that is actually starting to change. So I don't know. I think the tournament scene from where it started and where it's now coming back to has actually gone almost a complete full circle. And that's kind of funny. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good point because these tournaments were kind of the isle of, let's say, independence, where everybody who didn't have the connections to the guys running the invitationals could actually, come and make a name for himself. Like, because actually winning a big cup meant a lot back then. It was, as you said, it's kind of like the thing now with when you win an open qualifier for a big tournament. But back in the day, there weren't any qualifiers for big tournaments. The Stothex and the Ghost Cups and the NESLs were kind of like the baptism bracket. You would go through it, win, and then you get noticed. Because, sites like us or Team Liquid or, whoever was doing coverage, like Hearthstone was doing, regular coverage of these things, you got noticed, you got mentioned, and your name was out there.
There are also a couple others that popped up for like a few tournaments here or there, but never paid out and then quickly disappeared, which I'm glad they're gone. I really am. Because that just hurts the community in general. And
you are definitely talking about the Soulfire something, right?
Amongst others. Trust me. I actually had a war of words with one group because they were trying to basically they were trying to actually cause problems with our Friday Night Swiss deliberately. Like they came into our team speak and said, "Why play in this crap? Come to here and possibly win some money."
Oh, shit. Come on, you have to spill the name here. You have to spill the name. Are they still around? Are they still around?
No, they kind of crashed and burned, But I don't want to say anything and have a mob-friendly group of Reddit people go after them. If you haven't figured out fucking subtle clue, come on now. But there were problems there, and I tried to actually mitigate this and handle it in a very professional manner. To which the guy who I tried talking to was anything less than professional, and well, then my ghetto came out, and he ran away screaming.
Stothex, looking back at these tournaments, I don't know if you've played in any of those. I know you weren't involved in the organization, so maybe as a player. Nope.
At that time, I was still trying to get my collection to play the decks I wanted. So it was funny in the beginning. I really liked to play, and as soon as I could play, I like all the decks. I started to realize that leather is, how to say it?
Shit.
Yeah.
Mental masturbation.
Yeah, then that sounds actually nice.
Masturbation is a pleasant thing, so we cannot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Good point.
Mental menstruation.
Like mental chewing of a dick. Maybe it's right there.
Well, for some people that might be enjoyable. So.
Yeah, let's move away from the sexual overtones here. So, anyways, looking back at these tournaments, where would you place them? Let's say as a nowadays journalist and writer. Do you see the same resemblance between the Stothex and the Ghost Cups and the open qualifiers of today? Do you think this was the much needed thing before Hearthstone could move to a big stage and before stories could be developed?
Well, yeah, like these tournaments were like the foundation. They weren't, if you want like a analogy, they weren't pretty, but they were needed. Like everyone, if you build a house, like nobody cares about the foundation, but only about the rest of the house, and that's pretty much what happened to those tournaments. I mean, those tournaments, mana grind, you knew it, but they never received like the same. What's
We never got any ranking system off of Gosu.
It did.
MLG does not count. MLG does not count.
Well, come on. It's when you guys started putting up brackets, like where would we find brackets otherwise?
Okay. Challenge.
Ah, fuck challenge.
Well, like I said, they just didn't never get the attention like Fight Night or what came after. But if they haven't done what they have done, who knows if Fight Night ever happened? So
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, I think.
There was also a couple big one-off tournaments that happened, and one of the first ones I actually remember was like the NA versus CN that like 2P was doing,
Yes.
and then they did the EU one, and that predates a lot of stuff. So, and that's where we saw like players like Puffin pop out, if you remember correctly. So, they definitely had some really, and I think that's the only way I got anything mentioned about me on Ghost of Gamer because I participated in that.
Really?
Yeah, it's in there. Me losing to Muffins. Yeah, that's.
I can't believe I actually forgot about these tournaments because now that you mention them, I go back to them. It is one of the the fondest memories of the early days of Hearthstone because not we only did we see a televised competition, but we actually saw Chinese players play Hearthstone. That was awesome, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
NA decimated them, but yeah.
Actually, the NA versus China was quite close. It was 4-3 for America.
Yeah, but America jumped out real quick on that, if you remember correctly. It's like, boom, and then, yeah, it was funny.
Obviously, the Hearthstone grew, especially in the summer. I think was the blooming period of the game, and Seed Story Cup and Bucharest happened in March, April, and these were the first big offline tournaments. Obviously, they had their flaws, and but I still hold them very dearly because it was how to say something very natural that just happened. It wasn't really overproduced like ESGen. It was something very natural, very Hearthstone, I think.
What, you mean hot girls wearing geek glasses and short skirts isn't natural?
No, it's not in my life. I think not in any of our lives. But anyway, so the big thing was the summer of 2014, which I think is the really the golden era of Hearthstone competition, and this is where Simon from Vagame actually has a right to make this tweet because DreamHack and Vygame did cooperate to put out DreamHack Summer. This was in June or July, one of those. I think it was in June. This was a tournament RDU came out to win against Amas in the finals. It was really the first big grand final with big names that was getting streamed, to thousands of people. And this was kind of where the story of RDU began. Amas was already kind of known, but nobody really knew who RDU was at the time. And RDU then went on to win pretty much every single tournament that was held in the summer of 2014, including several online events. But going back to these days, it was all about DreamHack, Vygame, IM Shenzhen have a tournament in China. What do you guys remember? And do you think that this was in fact the first big thing for Hearthstone? Really, really big thing.
I mean, from standpoint of exposure, yeah, it probably was. That first DreamHack was probably like the biggest thing for it. I just still don't like the way he put it, man. It was like, oh yeah, screw off all you other little fuckers. I mean, that just it was a slap to my face and a slap to a lot of people who slaved and toiled and got no appreciation for what we did. And, screw you. But from a pure production and exposure, he's absolutely right. And I can't argue that. As much as I think his comment is dick, I cannot argue it.
Stothex, how much do you remember from DreamHack Summer? Because this is pretty big.
How about Hi Mom?
Yeah, the first Hearthstone drama, right?
Yeah,
oh my
god, really big.
A drama that lasted what, a month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so big that Reynard came to challenge RDU to a fight for the DreamHack Championship. Like the next day on Reddit.
Oh my god, RDU's stream got shut down, and oh yeah, the shit talking that never ended. And then after that was finally over, there was another drama. Thank you, Reynad, for creating that cycle.
I still think RDU would have destroyed Reynard. RDU was on fire at that time. Like, he won so much and had so many good placements in tournaments. I don't think Reynard would have won anything. I mean, he didn't win anything like for over a year. He won one tournament. So, but
A little interesting side note, RDU also participated in those Mana Grind MLG tournaments and actually won one of them too. And I had to try to get an interview with him, and normally we did that on TeamSpeak. Well, here's the problem. I sent him that message via client. Next thing I know, like 50 some odd Romanian people jumped into the TeamSpeak. I couldn't understand a word of what was going on. They wanted to be there for that interview. I was like, what the fuck?
They just want to congratulate his mother again. Like,
oh my god!
I guess this is the thing with RDU now. Yeah, this is such a cool drama that it actually affected RDU's career so much that, you know, I've done interviews with him and he said that, you know, I'm still trying, you know, this was at 2014 still. He was saying like how much he's trying to repair his reputation, even though that he didn't really do anything wrong. So, you know, how appropriate that the first big Hearthstone tournament has the first big drama in Hearthstone.
Well, not just the drama. The drama was so big that Blizzard actually changed something inside the game.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, do we need to have like such a drama, everything we want something changed because let's start writing because letters shit. I mean,
Blizzard reactionary rather than proactive? Never.
Never.
So, well, DreamHack and Viagame were doing their thing, and obviously DreamHack was slated for success. Like, I followed their production since like 2010 when they started producing the StarCraft 2 tournaments, and ever since then they've been, you know, becoming more and more awesome. And every tournament is basically a pleasure to watch. But so this was kind of a sad thing. Like we knew, I think at least I did, that DreamHack Hearthstone was going to be the benchmark against which all Hearthstone, you know, offline content is measured. But, you know, along these lines, I was really surprised that IEM, you know, the ESL offline brand of tournaments, this didn't really take off. Like in 2014, they had two tournaments. They had one small-time semi-invitational in Katowice, which Nimsh won with Elite Orange Chieftain, actually, against Arthoses. And then there was an event in Shenzhen, China, which Amaz won. And that was it. IEM never really, you know, accepted Hearthstone as its own thing. Like, obviously now we see it as part of the ESL Legendary Series, which is, you know, maybe something very similar, basically the same thing. But it took a long while. Like they never really tried to bring the game to all the locations they went to in 2014. Do the guys find this surprising? Because I really thought that IEM Hearthstone would be a thing as well.
I was kind of hoping it would be, because it's another tour circuit, which, you know, I really do like. It gives me something to watch every 3 months. But I think with them, they did not get the results that they were expecting from this, and rather than let it like build the brand, build it for them, they said, okay, we didn't get what we want, let's move on to something else. And sadly, that happens quite often. It's like you like a TV show and it doesn't get those top ratings right away, it's not coming back for season 2. So,
do you think a large part of why that became true was their actually first two events? Because the Shenzhen, the Katowice one was very small. It was basically, you know, 1 hour of production on stage, and Shenzhen featured Chinese and Filipino players that nobody really knew. I think it was at the time that you had to have you know, known players, and just having Cardio and Amaz doesn't really cut it. Like Masan wasn't big at this time, so it was basically these two guys.
You really need star power. You need that hype train. You need something to build it. having just 20 nobodies that nobody's ever really paid attention to, they've never streamed in their life, they've never written a deck guide, never anything, you're not really going to get anything off that. God's honest truth. You have to have some sort of representation. That's why they started all these tournaments where it was nothing but invites only, because nobody wants to have an event that is not going to satisfy the sponsor's expectations. And that's my take on it, to be honest with you.
But then again, DreamHack, at least the first Bucharest, it was mostly Romanian guys, because it was in Bucharest. It was organized by the local DreamHack branch. And so they also took a big risk, but that they probably didn't get the numbers they were expecting as well, because it was Gara against Daniel in the finals. Like, all the big names were eliminated. Ekop, Gara, Ekop, Amaz, they were all eliminated until the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, DreamHack believed in Hearthstone, and it kind of paid off.
Well,
most of the known players,
go
Chiv, most
ahead.
of the known players were like shot down in like the first 2 rounds, wasn't it? Like in the first DreamHack Bucharest. That was like, so who are all the other people? Like, you didn't know anyone. You didn't even know Gara at that time. Nobody knew Gara.
Yep.
They know him now.
They know him now.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the risks that you run in that kind of format. It's going to happen. But they still had these people that people knew already there. So then the guy you're sitting there watching gets beaten by somebody you've never heard of. Are you just going to turn off the stream right now? Or are you going to see if somebody knocks him off of the throne because he defeated your idol and your fanboy rage needs to be satisfied? And then you keep watching this guy and you go, hey, you know what? This guy's pretty good. Oh, look at that. The guy gains a new fan. Happens.
The next big thing that actually happened after the summer was the big Chinese tournaments. We're talking WEC, which had 60k prize pool, and then we had WCA, which had 200k. Basically the biggest tournament outside BlizzCon. And these tournaments are, it's hard to take them seriously because they were obviously promotion tournaments. They're very, very strongly marketed as such, and the Chinese weren't really fooling anybody, and they were trying to invite some of the big streamers or the big names, and it paid off for WEC. I think they had an okay-ish production. WCA was horrible, but in 2015 they're trying to do it again. There will be WCA 2015. Now that the qualifiers are already going on. What do you guys think of the Chinese approach to the Hearthstone scene? Like, they really entered it like nobody else, like with big money. Nobody before them threw that much money at Hearthstone players.
Well, the Chinese have been throwing money at esports for some time now, so it's not surprising they're going to do the same thing for Hearthstone. But going back to WCA, that was like one of the worst run events ever. And anybody I know who actually attended that had nothing but complaints. Poor Reynad wanted to get on a scooter and like drive out to the desert and die. That was such a great amount of salt.
Yeah, they should do a movie about that.
There should be
like a
Reynad's journey to the desert. But,
Mad Max the Reynad edition or something.
Oh, that could
Desert
be
of
interesting.
Salt.
Yeah. Desert Assault. He just beats everybody up with his forehead.
Why are people not throwing money at us to write scripts for movies? I don't know.
I'm telling you, man. HearthstoneMovies.com. Let's do it.
The tournament where the players could like hear the Chinese castles.
Oh, it was
that was the one.
No, was it?
Yes, that was.
Okay.
And then Monk was trying to say, "Oh, I was over there. I couldn't hear it." But I believe Forsen was also there, and he was like, "I don't know. I heard that clear as day." Knox couldn't hear anything. It was actually, it was kind of weirdly run because they actually changed the rules like right before everybody got there. Like as they were in flight.
They changed it
yeah, like as they were in flight to get there, they changed the rules so they had to go back. None of the people who came from North America could like get to the emails to send out things. So I actually was handed like deck lists and said, "Could you please send this for me for one player?" It was just so messed up. It really was. But I mean, anytime you got something new, you're going to have growing pains. You're going to have to figure out what works. I know they got another one. I've already seen some of the stuff they've got listed in how it's going to be run, and it's cringeworthy at best. So who knows? Maybe eventually they'll get it right. But it's cool that they're throwing money at it. Eventually they might be able to buy an answer. So let's hope.
The rest of 2014 was history, as they say. We had BlizzCon, we had DreamHack Winter, both were amazing events. I think we can all agree on this. BlizzCon crowning a very unlikely winner, even though Death Admiral basically flat out predicted it. Farabad is going to win BlizzCon, and he did. Then DreamHack.
I know, that was creepy.
Yeah. He just knew, man. Then DreamHack Winter is probably the most stacked Hearthstone tournament to date. It featured all the big names, really everybody, all the known streamers, all the up and comers that were starting to make names for themselves. It was, such a stacked event. It's unbelievable. It had arguably one of the best Hearthstone matches ever played between Strifecrow and Kulen. So it's featured in our top 14 moments of all time. You should check out this feature. Just Google it, you'll find it. Kulento playing Control Warrior against Strifecrows, no win condition mage, and nobody knew what the fuck is happening. Least of all Kulento, who was like, what the hell am I playing against? So awesome events in 2014, and really I think the year ended on such a high note, and I didn't really expect that 2015 will start as strongly, but it did.
I think it started better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's even better. And again, the topic that we've been repeating over several episodes, it's new guys, now coming and changing up the order of the Hearthstone scene. And I think this is the most awesome thing that we've seen in the scene for a while, especially me, as a writer looking at the entire situation in the industry. It's always exciting to see the old boys club falling apart and new guys coming up, fresh blood, competing, winning the big money. But let's talk about 2015 in short, and about the tournaments that you guys think will define this year of competition. Like, obviously I think we can put DreamHack there, because they already made an amazing event in Bucharest. They will have a $40,000 Swiss tournament in summer. They will have a tournament in France, all over the world. I think the entire DreamHack circuit will be 7 stops overall. I'm not sure if each one will have Hearthstone event, but
are they coming to America finally?
I don't quote me, but I think they're not. But maybe they're. I'll have to check. Really, I don't know.
You're doing it wrong, DreamHack. Doing it wrong. We finally got esports on ESPN too, and you're not coming here. That's just so sad.
But yeah,
I couldn't even watch that, man. I'm so sad.
Yeah, let's talk about the organizations and the brands that you think will define the ecosystem and the climate of 2015 in terms of Hearthstone. Stothex, let's start with you.
What brands do you mean?
Yeah, like the likes of DreamHack or Vigame or ESL, whatever. Who do you think will make the most? Who do you think will develop competitive Hearthstone the most this year, and why?
Well, DreamHack with that complete open qualifier is pretty much what the community wanted, but I don't think it's what they want out of the game. Like, for example, like the Pinnacle 4, right? There was a bit of drama about that, but they had qualifiers, and in the finals they were like Mavi and so on, and so people that are not that well known, and the usually 80k viewers they get for the Pinnacle were like reduced to 30,000. So
still a good day for us.
I could see that happen for DreamHack as well, and that would be kind of sad. So I hope it works out better for them than for the Pinnacle. ESL Legendary Series is also very nice, and it's pretty steady. and people seem to enjoy it a lot. So those two are hopefully gonna bring more people to the game. Like, yeah.
Our colleague Nomlix is saying in the chat that Hearthstone is going to learn a lesson out of that coming DreamHack, either a good or a bad one.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully a good one. I mean, I think tournaments invite too many players. That's mostly the problem. They should do more open slots, but I don't know how it will work out with just invites only. I mean, it's not like StarCraft and League of Legends and stuff where like the top players really win in like over 90% of the time. In Hearthstone, I mean, everybody knows it for him or herself. If you play on ladder and you play against someone that plays like crap and they still win somehow, and I mean that can happen to everyone. So I don't. That's why I don't know if complete open qualifiers are like the way to go.
Still, like if you're talking about organizations, the ones putting up Hearthstone content right now, and who do you think has the brightest future ahead of him?
I don't want to put out anything here right now. I really don't know.
That's fair.
You're so indecisive. You're always so indecisive on these questions.
Guys in the chat, if you want to share your opinions with us, about which brands do you think will make, good shit in Hearthstone this year, just type us and we'll give you a shout out.
If it's about like tournaments, Seed Story Cup and the next Wire Game House Cup will be obviously awesome again. The next Seed Story Cup should actually be at the new venue, so that's gonna be nice. And this time I will sneak in somehow.
Yeah, get me a chair. This one's falling apart.
Yeah, first I need to get myself a chair. You haven't seen my chair.
You're a big man. Like... You're a big man. You can carry 2 chairs. They have wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try.
Chiv, what about you?
I have to agree with the Seat Story and Via Games. I like where they're going with things. I like their creativity they are. But I'm also going to go outside the norm here, and I'm going to say OGN. Because I like what they're doing with their fan interaction. Like if you show up, like beforehand, you could sign up and actually participate in a tablet-only, Wi-Fi tournament that they have right there. And you get like drinks and some prizes and stuff out of that. So that's, fan interaction and participation. And I think that's actually a really cool idea. It's rewarding fans for coming to the events, even more so than watching their favorite players kick ass. So fuck yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah, Korea has been doing this for a long time now.
Korea's great.
Yeah, I mean, in StarCraft 2 events, you go to the venue and you get pizza. It's free. Everybody can come in. People coming together and bonding and having a good crowd and enjoying the game they like together. It's
fuck the game. I'm just going for the pizza.
And like every Korean there with an iPhone's holding it up and it's saying Epic Card for some odd reason. Yeah, I actually found out that's what it says on those cell phones with the hold-ups. Epic Card.
They open packs actually on stream, and depending on what cards they open, they decide how many packs they will give to the audience, because they also give you packs if you attend. So if like the streamer opens an Epic Card, there's like an extra Hearthstone pack or something.
Nice.
Yeah. We don't have this in the West. We don't have this. In the West.
Yeah. We need this. You cheap bastards.
I kind of have to go with your OGNP here, just because I know how serious Korea takes esports, and they have a long-running successful record of organizing good tournaments. In StarCraft, League of Legends.
Isn't like StarCraft a religion there?
Yeah, it basically is. Now League of Legends is their new religion, but Korea has been organizing events as long back as Brood War, StarCraft 1, and they were awesome. Excluding the very early ones where they were in spacesuits, like latex pajamas or whatever. Most of the stuff they do is really top notch. So they really know how to run an esport event.
Yeah.
And Hearthstone is big in Korea, getting bigger. More
Oh
and
yeah.
more people coming to, like, I watch the OGN broadcasts for the Korean Masters, and lots of people show up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they have their own little drama stories there, like Golden Coin, all the players getting sniped. It's like, oh wow, this is like watching, a Mexican soap opera. This is fun. And I love that. There's stories in there. I can't understand what all the players are saying, but luckily there's a guy who's translating it for us. Thank you, OGN. So I like what they're doing there. They're definitely marketing it to more than just their own community, which that's cool. That's cool. And I know that there's a lot of groups that would like some of these big tournaments to be, rebroadcasted in like Russian or rebroadcasted in some other language that may not be English fluent. All right. So here, the Koreans are actually doing that, but they're doing it in reverse. So I'm all for that. It's definitely some great diversity, and I think that there's lessons that can be learned from them.
I think the only thing really missing at the moment is a tournament that um, brings it on an international level. Obviously, Vigame are trying to do now.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my hopes are with them, just because they're offering a Chinese qualifier for House Cup 3. So there will be Chinese players going to Transylvania Castle. That's gonna be fucking awesome. But I really miss
And they are
this.
never seen again.
Yeah, I really miss the tournament organizer that will you know decide that, okay, I will be the guy that will bring the West and the East together. Really, some people have been trying, but it's partial at best. I mean, we've seen the NEL trying to bring Western players to their team. Like, Liquid were there, and in the autumn season, and we saw Tempo Storm competing in the winter season now. And now, as we mentioned, House Cup 3 will have Chinese players, but again, these are only partial involvements. There's no really international competition between China or Korea or Taiwan or whatever and the West. So I'm not sure who this organizer will be. Maybe it will be Viagame who decide, okay, we just want to go even bigger and not just have a few Chinese players. I don't
They're going
think
to need
it.
one hell of a bankroll.
I don't think it will be Blizzard, because I don't think Blizzard want to get involved with the scene at
Blizzard
this
has been
point.
trying to keep the regions separated
Yeah,
since day one. That's why there's regions. That's why we don't have a global account, which is kind of funny because initially in CBT we had a global account, and then it was like, oh nope, you must be either NA or EU, and then all the other ones came out, and that made no sense. In all honesty, Blizzard, please listen up. I will pay you money if you let me copy my account from one region to another while keeping it on my same region, and most people would do the same. Make it happen.
Yeah, I would. I'm on that too.
All right, and
I
I think that would actually be a step towards better globalization between the regions.
yeah. I'm
I'm
really
sorry, I had to get that off because that's been bugging me. That kept me out of a tournament this week, bastards. No,
yeah.
because nobody wants to let you borrow their account now with all the bans going out because they're afraid of it. All right, you read the terms of service. Oh shit, I don't want to lose my account. I'd love to help you out, man, but you're fuck off. That's not going to happen. So please stop screwing us, Blizzard.
I've seen so many interesting like new tournaments pop out on Reddit in like the last half year or so, and most of them are like on NA, and I'm always like, "Yeah, fuck, how I can't play because I don't have any cards. I have like the most budget mage, like it's super budget, and
At least you could do that, man. All I could do is basically throw out freaking Boulderfist Ogre and be done.
yeah, I only can do that because the three GVG boosters had like two legendaries and one was golden. So
Tonight is for the win.
I actually had that on both servers.
what do you guys think about the team setting up tournaments, and Hearthstone personalities getting involved? Because Archon, Archon is doing their regular, the Pinnacle. Tempo Storm are trying their own thing. Lord of the Arena, obviously not a serious tournament, but they certainly show that well, they can organize a tournament if they want to. We see now Kriparian will organize a quite an interesting tournament actually, where he will give challenges to the players and they will have to construct a deck on the spot.
That one I love.
Yeah.
I love that concept.
What do you guys think about not big organizations, but on a team level or on a personal level, people trying to build circuits and stories from the ground up?
I think it's great. It was part of like what initially we wanted to do at Mana Grind, because we actually had visions that extended way beyond what we were. All right, we thought way too highly of ourselves, and we had some really cool plans, but it never just got off the ground. But now I'm seeing that a lot of this stuff is coming back. By the way, Amaz, thank you for Tag Team Hearthstone. Thank you.
Yes.
Tag Team Hearthstone.
I want that tournament to really blow up and like everyone to like it, because I will be in the next one then.
Yeah, you will be in the next one then.
Yeah,
really?
I will probably team up with Backspace and just troll people.
I just want to see when one team wins, the guy get up on the top rope and jump on the losing team. I think that would be hilarious. Dark Wanix would win and everybody would run.
Nico, since you're tight with Archon, tell us, won't they make like a tournament in their own house, kind of like Archon Story Cup?
Yeah, there will be house cups.
Oh, really?
I don't know any specifics, but I know that some of the sponsors will help out, and now that I have actually like some furniture and stuff, they will do some house cups as well. That was the plan all along, actually. That's why they got the house.
I think he knows more than he's telling us. Get the thumb screws.
No, actually, I don't know anything specific. I know they want to do house cups, and that was a part of the plan for the house from the beginning. But there isn't any specific plan I'm aware of right now.
At least they picked a good location with fiber optic. So give them props on that.
I guess really, if we were to pick one of the unconventional tournament organizers, I would put Archon right there, because they have really been trying to make stuff happen on a regular basis, because I don't really want to wait 3 months for a dream hack, but the Pinnacle gives me regular entertainment on a regular basis.
There will also be, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I know there will be some other tournaments as well, like besides Pinnacle and the tag team.
Okay, wow.
Backspace actually talked to me about that, like there will be more tournaments, and I guess there will be a lot of different tournaments just to try out stuff as well. So
breaking teaser news at the end of the Innervated, as Nico probably loses his connections with Team Archon forever.
I also think
if that was the case, the Firebed would probably not be on the team anymore. Because he had been spoiling he had been spoiling everything like they ever did. Like,
yeah, but he's better than
he's the world champion. Yeah, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
You cannot really compare yourself to Firebed. But anyways, let's close this discussion, because I think we're pushing the second hour, and we said it.
I just want to add one little thing to this. I think the group that actually makes a decent fucking league. Thank you. I'll give you props on that right now. Please make a league that people want to watch and isn't a convoluted mess.
Alright, so this is kind of like
how about add one little word and make it a team league, like a team league people actually want to watch.
Yep.
Bam. There you go.
Awesome.
So we're tossing the challenge out there for anybody, for any tournament organizer who wants to make this happen. Like we talked in previous episodes about Kingwin and Nvidia and their long-running leagues, but I guess we can all agree they're not quite there yet, with production, quality overall. And
sorry.
Yeah, let's really close this out, because again we're I think very close to the second hour, and I think we're starting to bore the fuck out of people. So closing words, Chiv.
Closing words. May RNGesus bless us all and give me a real league. And thank you for Tag Team Hearthstone.
Okay, Stothex?
Yeah, tag team. That's gonna be awesome. That's all I want to see, and it's actually starting. What? Yeah, soon.
On the 30th.
Soon enough.
On
soon
the 30th. On the 30th. At least this is what the latest tweet by Emma said.
Yeah, that should be the correct date.
Anyways, this was all from us for this week, guys. Thank you really, for tuning in and listening to us talk stuff for 2 hours now. You can follow me at Nydra on Twitter. You can follow Chiv at TheChiv1. And you can follow Stothex at StothexHS. You can follow Skim Gaming, who is not here, but he's 2 kittens. So he's really cute. He's almost as cute as the kittens in real life. He's fluffy and huggable. So follow him as well on Twitter at Skim Gaming.
I wouldn't go that far, but
yeah, well, okay, yeah, but follow my work and Stothex's work at Ghost Gamers HS, and follow the Chiv. Watch his work with the MechTorque workshop. Cool stuff there, mate. But yeah, this was the show for this week. Next week we'll return again Monday, 9 p.m. CET. Still don't know what the topic will be. Hopefully something interesting will happen in Hearthstone that we just gonna shit on and discuss the hell out of it for.
Raynad says something appropriate. Number 9,462.
Nah, that's not really discussion worthy, I think. But
Yeah.
it will be the Brawl tournament that we all gonna.
There we
love,
go.
Or
There
it
we
will
go.
be a disaster and then we'll just destroy it. But
We'll dig out my Hulkamaniac shirt.
again,
By the way, you could have told the people that the next month we will do
Yes.
a slightly different
So,
contest.
yeah, for all our Innervated listeners, we will have Innervated special episodes which will focus on our card design contest that we're doing every month. So expect me and Stothex here, plus a couple of other guys, joining the show, and we'll just talk and highlight community card creations. Kind of stealing Chip's idea here, so sorry.
Wow, it's a subject matter I actually have some expertise on.
Yeah.
Again,
So maybe we'll get you as a neutral third party that's not GGNet involved, and we just gonna look at some cards that our readers have submitted, and a lot of them are awesome. Some of them are not. We'll
as long as there's no My Little Pony art on them, I think I'll be all right.
yeah.
And don't forget to add next month is actually card back time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll stop spoiling. We'll announce it soon enough. But yeah, this is the end of the Innervated episode number 3. Hosted by yours truly, Gigi Nydra. I'll see you guys next Monday. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.